The walls have ears. Now, reviewing a book in the conventional manner is one thing. I've been reading Helen Fry's books, well written, very interesting in the initial part, and very boring and monotonous after you read about 100 pages. That is a separate thing. But let's get into the heart of the matter. Why these books? Why so much, fanfare? CIA writing reviews of The Wall Have Ears and hailing it. As far as the CIA, what we saw of the CIA, I saw the CIA closely in the US Afghan war. I was in the I was in Afghanistan from 2003 to 2021, 18 years. I saw the CIA in Pakistan, in the tribal areas, my own country. A total failure. A confused organization, massively corrupt, an organization that could not defend the USA as far as the 9/11 was concerned, unless the 9/11 was an inside job. That too remains a very big question mark. But why write books like The Walls of Ears, The Man Who Saved MI6, and now you have started the Western writers, Russian bashing, trying to prove that Kursk was not a decisive battle, Prokhorovka was exaggerated. Pearls of nonsense. The bottom line is that the Western world, the Anglo Saxon world, very civilized people agreed, much less savage than the Russians or Chinese or Japanese, yes, certainly. But the worst devils, as far as thinking is concerned, the most intellectually dishonest, crooked people, if you study the bottom line. There was no comparison between the German nuclear program of the Nazis and the American nuclear program. The American at that time spent some $2 or $3 billion, which is today is about 25 or $30 billion, and the Germans never spent more than perhaps $2 million. So the claims of Helen Fry that London could have been subjected to a Nazi nuclear strike in the conclusion of the book is absolute nonsense. Now, again, why writing these books? As everyone knows, and as all the students of military history know, that 90% of the fighting in the Second World War was done by the Soviet Union, by the Red Army, or the Red Air Force, or the Navy. American or British role was significant as far as American Lend-Lease program was concerned in arming Britain. Britain was saved by the USA. Otherwise, Britain had zero chance of success. Russia, partly Lend-Lease program, the US aid, partly. Decisive but not very decisive. Now, all these books are being written, The Walls of Ears, so many other books, to prove that the Britishers or the Americans were as good as the Russians in the Second World War. And, sort of run down the Soviet or the Russian achievements in the real contribution to the Allied victory in the Second World War against the Nazis. Essentially, Helen Fry's books and most of these books, no offense meant to any writer, are a very subtle kind of propaganda to project the Western world, to project the Atlantic Rim, as Van der Pil, the famous Dutch Sussex professor, calls it, the Anglo-Saxon world as very superior and the ones who defeated Nazi Germany. My foot. Absolute nonsense. These books are very interesting. The Walls Have Ears is very interesting. The first 100 pages perhaps. And then repetition and all kind of irrelevant nonsense. Hard to say that these books are masterpieces. Yes, bestsellers certainly. Commercial writing, of course, is a very important part of the publishing industry, the book industry. But one has to read these books not with pinches of salt, but with bags of salt. This is my conclusion.